We're taking food field to table in a show about color, beauty, and good things to eat. Back in 30 seconds. Thanks a lot, Jay. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. In today's show, we're going to explore bringing the bounty of the garden into the kitchen for some delicious meals. You see, all across this country, there are local farmers who sell their crops to people like you and me. Sometimes they can be found in the farmer's market or as close as your grocery store. Today, we're going to follow fresh herbs and vegetables from field to table, just like this basket of fresh greens here grown by a local farmer you'll meet a little later. I think you'll be inspired by the produce you're going to see, the stories you're going to hear, and certainly by the recipes that are being prepared just for us in today's show. First up is a trip to the historic Biltmore in Asheville, North Carolina, where we hear about how their very own farm is supplying fresh ingredients to restaurants across the estate. That's right after the break, so don't go away. Towering above the scenic landscape of western North Carolina, you'll find the Biltmore Estate. It's the largest privately owned home in America. But this estate is also a pioneer when it comes to the relationship between the farm and the kitchens here. Eli Herman tells us more.
Well, we have the kitchen garden here. We have a little over 5 acres that we use for food production for the restaurants. We feature a lot of crops in the bistro restaurant. Particularly in August, they have a tomato menu using our tomatoes from everything from appetizers to dessert. We have a wide variety, very much like what you would grow in your home garden, green beans, peppers, squashes. We do the patty pans and the zucchini and the crookneck squashes, hot peppers. We grow a lot of herbs for the restaurants. Probably the ones that are most in demand are chives and thyme and oregano right now. Chives are very hardy. They're like an onion and do better in the cooler weather. The oregano is very hardy for us too, and so is the thyme. The thing with mints is you need to contain them. They can become a real pest, and it only takes them about 3 seasons to start doing that. But again, plant them in a pot and keep them from spreading. The front portion of the garden is about 1 acre that we've tried to incorporate things for the home garden. When you garden on the scale for the restaurants that we do of 6,000 lettuce plants, it's really not what a homeowner can do. But in this front acre, what we've tried to do is do more what people could do in their home with tomatoes and peppers and those kind of things. Smaller beds, some trellising where they could run their beans and squashes and those things up a trellis for a smaller space than 5 acres that we have.
As Eli mentioned, vertical gardening is a tremendous space-saving way to garden. Let me show you a few examples of this. A trellis, arbor, or arch may be all you need to create an eye-lifting focal point. Need a little privacy around your deck or terrace, or want to screen a view? Vertical plants might be just the ticket. As you elevate the beauty of your garden, your plants rise to eye and nose level, where colors and fragrance are better appreciated. One of my favorite tricks to add height and drama to a flower border is to position several freestanding supports or tutors as towering accents. Even the tiniest spaces have a chance to put on a big display. All you need is a patch of soil where a vine can gain a foothold to scramble up a support. Now, once you find the places to garden up, well, the fun begins. You see, there are almost as many structures to support a plant as there are vines to cover them. Now, there are just a couple of rules of thumb to follow when choosing a support. You want to make sure that the structure complements the color and style of your home, and at the same time gives your plants that lean-on-me strength they need. The point is to be sure to match the supporting structure with the size and nature of the vine. For instance, an aggressive and strong vine like wisteria needs a lot of support. And don't think you have to wait years to get the coverage you need. There are many fast-growing annual vines that in one season will create cascades of color. Vertical gardening is a great way to add drama to your garden. If you'd like some more ideas on this, just check out my website. That's pallensmith.com. You know, I'm always amazed by how much produce I can actually grow in my tiny vegetable garden. But I also feel very lucky to live in a community where there are local farmers who sell beautiful produce and herbs to those who don't have the time or the space. Mary Lee McHenry is one such gardener, and she tells us a bit about her business and gives us some tips on growing herbs just like the pros.
Well, I've always been a gardener and a cook. I cooked for my family for years, and I love to cook. And there seemed to be a real need. When I first started growing herbs, there were only a few restaurants who used herbs, and very few people really. And now it's just spread all over. Buying produce and herbs locally is even more important now than it's ever been, because we're so threatened in our environment and we're so unsure of where some of our food comes from that it's just heartening to know that it comes locally and that you can meet farmers and know that they're not putting huge amounts of pesticides or insecticides on your food. Everybody loves basil, best of all, and that's the biggest selling herb, and it goes so well with wonderful local tomatoes. Then any kind of home grower should do perennials. And most of the common herbs and the ones that are so wonderful in our cooking are very easy to grow by perennials. I would recommend you would plant thyme and rosemary and oregano. And one of my favorites is Italian parsley, which is a biennial, but it reseeds itself for me, so I don't ever have to plant it again. My favorite part of my garden are the edible flowers. I do baby roses. These are little Cecile Brunner roses, and I do heirloom roses so they don't ever have to be sprayed, because of course you cannot eat edible flowers if they've been sprayed with any kind of poison. So during the year I'll have other kinds of edible flowers. These are pretty little chives, blossoms. Of course, pansies is a common edible flower, and I grow lots of those in lots of pretty colors. I do daisies in the spring, dianthus in the spring, and other times of the year I'll do other flowers. One thing that I like to tell people about herbs is that they are beautiful landscape plants. They bloom just like other perennials, and so when they blossom, they're gorgeous. And they are beautiful around the home, and they're really outstanding in the landscape.
While Mary Lee specializes in herbs, another local farm produces amazing salad greens. Their story coming up in Color Corner next. Rows and rows and rows of beautiful salad greens. Their colors are just out of this world, and don't they make you hungry? Today we're talking about locally grown produce that can go from field to table, and we've certainly found the right place here, where Jay Fulbright and the next generation are hard at work.
If I was doing it all over again, I probably should have been an attorney and made some real money and had a more stable environment, but I received a visitation from St. Stupid that got me into this business, and I'm happy I did, because I love what I do. We believe that everything should be super fresh, and so we don't cut our products until they're ordered. And we grow arugula and spring mix and herbs and flowers and microgreens, all these things as much as possible year-round, and we deliver them as fresh as they can possibly be delivered. Our most popular thing is spring mix, which is a mix of all these things that you see in these greenhouses, the arugula, the baby lettuces, the Japanese greens, all mixed together and ready to eat. A newer product that is also very popular are microgreens, which are the fanciest baby tiny greens that are just delicious. And also edible flowers are more and more popular these days for garnish and for eating. It is so important to buy from your local farmers for so many different reasons. First, you're going to get a quality product that is fresh from somebody that you know. When you buy from somebody local, that money goes right back into your local economy and is not delivered off halfway across the country, or in some cases halfway across the world. And when you know the person you buy it from, you can have a greater degree of trust in how that product was grown, because you know who grew it. Now, we don't use any farm chemicals on our operation. We don't use any chemical fertilizers or pesticides or preservatives in any of our products. And this is not only for our customers who end up eating the products and selling the products, but also for us, because my family lives out here on this farm. We live here, we play here. Our kids don't go to daycare, they're able to be with us all the time. We love it out here.
Inspired by Jay's produce, we're heading off to one of my favorite local restaurants for a look at how they use his products. But first, some more tips on growing your own fresh herbs. Plus, I'll answer a viewer question about dealing with pests organically right after this break. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome back. In today's show, we're taking a look at garden fresh produce and herbs farmed by locals for locals. Earlier, we saw how the Biltmore is growing many of the items that chefs on the estate are enjoying in their cooking. And Mary Lee McHenry's herb business is booming thanks to the patronage of local businesses and people like you and me. Jay Fulbright's farm was packed with an array of organically produced salad greens and other good things to eat. So it only makes sense to follow fresh produce from the field to the table. Now, in just a few minutes, I want to take you to one of my favorite restaurants where the chefs are preparing a wonderful meal for us. But first, let's take a look at some tips that'll help you grow some of your own herbs. You see, I think it's helpful to think about the origin of the plant in order to get the soil and conditions right. Take, for instance, Mediterranean herbs. You see, they require soil that's not too rich. So by adding some sand to a potting mix will help the soil drain better and make them feel right at home. Herbs are some of the most versatile plants you can grow. You can grow them outside in a large garden, in containers, or in a greenhouse like this. You can even winter them over indoors to enjoy in your cooking. But if you grow them indoors, there are a few things you'll need to know. Most herbs can be grown inside, but some are easier than others, like parsley, mint, rosemary, thyme. And then there are chives, which actually prefer a period of dormancy. In fact, they can freeze completely to the ground and then be brought inside, where they'll emerge new tender shoots of which you can enjoy. This always works out well for me because I always seem to leave something out in the cold. For herbs to flourish in our homes, it's all about getting the conditions right. When it comes to light, most of them require at least 6 hours of sunlight per day, and preferably from a window with southern exposure. Of course, there are exceptions like parsley and mint. They don't require quite as much light. As far as temperature, all of these are happy between 55 and 70 degrees. Like most plants, herbs enjoy humidity, so if your house is particularly dry, you may want to mist them occasionally. You'll also find that they'll require less water in the winter, and they need to be fertilized once a month with an all-purpose liquid fertilizer. It only takes a little of a fresh herb to give food that extra zip. And that's all the reason I need to bring a few of these through the winter. You know, the theme of this show is perfect for answering a commonly asked garden question, and that's if I want to grow some of these things to eat, how do I keep the pests away? In fact, I have a letter here from Lucy in Mississippi, and she writes that she feels she needs to spray her tomatoes and basil and other summer plants from time to time, but she wants to make sure that what she sprays them with is safe for her family to eat. Okay. Well, one of the things I like to use, Lucy, is a hot pepper spray. This product combines paraffin wax and other ingredients with capsaicin, a chemical naturally found in peppers that makes them hot. When sprayed directly on plants and foliage, the wax lightly coats it and holds the hot spray in place. Now, I've found this to be an effective and organic way of dealing with certain pests in the garden, like leaf hoppers, spider mites, and whiteflies, just to name a few. When you use this product, you certainly want to keep it away from children, and you don't want to get any of it in your eyes because it can really burn. But don't be afraid to spray it directly on the produce in your garden. You see, it washes off with just a little warm water. All right, earlier I promised you a delicious recipe using some of those fresh herbs and salad greens we saw earlier. Things are always hopping at Trios, where they're preparing a menu item just for us. Here's the owner to walk us through what's going on.
The first thing we're going to make tonight is a fresh grilled fig, a locally grown fig that we've marinated in a fig balsamic vinegar on a rosemary skewer. After it's taken off the grill, we're going to stuff it with a little bit of gorgonzola cheese, drizzle it with a little bit of pomegranate molasses, and top it with some crispy prosciutto. Franco's going to take the figs and put them on the grill. After the figs have been grilled for 3 or 4 minutes, we'll pull them off and stuff them with gorgonzola cheese. While the figs are in the oven and the gorgonzola is melting, we're going to take some Italian prosciutto, julienne it, fry it until it's nice and crisp. We'll finish the dish with the prosciutto and some pomegranate molasses.
Okay, we're going to pause for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll pull out the finishing touches on this meal. Welcome back. Let's rejoin Capi and Franco in the kitchen at Trios.
Franco's chopping chives, thyme, tarragon, basil, fresh garlic, and flat leaf Italian parsley. Nice cut of fresh beef tenderloin, marinated in a fruity olive oil with lots of local herbs. After the beef is marinated, we're going to grill it. As the beef is on the grill, Franco will take the squash blossoms, stuff them with a nice mild goat cheese. We're dipping them in a nice light, thin egg and milk batter. Lightly fry them, and that will be the accompaniment for the beef. We'll start by putting down a pool of the demi-glaze we've made with lots of fresh rosemary and Cabernet. Top it with the perfectly grilled beef tenderloin, and the final touch are the stuffed squash blossoms, stuffed with a nice mild goat cheese and lightly fried.
Well, that's it for today's show. I hope you've been inspired to try to support your local farmers and use that locally grown organic produce, as well as try the recipe from Trios. All you have to do is go to my website to print it out. It's pallansmith.com. Until next time, from the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.